I'm Rob. Welcome to Build Up, the show about shows between the shows. We have Julie Taymor here to talk about Across the Universe. It's such a fun musical, and I'm wondering, do we have any, Beatles fans here today?
Woo!
Yes.
I love the Beatles!
Who's not a Beatles fan? You'd really have to be a sick person to not love the Beatles.
Yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if someone ran up right now and they were like, I hate the Beatles. You know why? Because music sucks in general. All music sucks. I like silence.
It's crazy. I know a guy who actually, he does say he hates the Beatles only because he's such a passionate Rolling Stones fan.
Oh.
And he thinks that you can only have one, and I'm like, you need to grow up. You're a grown man.
Newsflash, you can like the Rolling Stones and still acknowledge that the Beatles are better.
Of course. Well, yes,
Everybody
obviously.
knows that.
Easily
Everybody
and
knows
obviously.
that. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, Mick Jagger. I know he watches because he's obsessed with me.
Obviously. We're all huge Beatles fans. We all know all the songs. That's why we're excited about Across the Universe. But you know what? Some of you guys I'm just excited to see some of these people here today.
Yeah, the
Great
fans.
audience, the fans who show up. And you know what? We want to get to know you more. Anyone here? So, anyone want to come up and talk to us? We just want to get to know you.
Come up.
We'll just
Share
ask you a couple
your
questions.
life details
Yes,
with
we'd
us.
love to talk to you. Come on up.
Yes.
It's gonna be so fun. Yes, come on up. So,
Get right here in the middle.
stand right between us and put that mic right up under your mouth.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good.
Oh, great. What's your name?
Jodi.
Hi, Jodi.
Jodi.
Jodi. So, Jodi, where are you from today? Where'd you come in from?
Upper West Side.
Upper West
Nice.
Side.
The exotic
West
island
Side.
of Manhattan. I live right here.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
The
How'd
exotic
you
island of
Get
Manhattan.
here.
Subway.
Subway.
Fun,
Nice.
fun.
Yeah.
Anything crazy happen on the New York City subway?
Yeah, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you on the New York subway?
Well, I'm dating myself, but this went back many, many years.
That's okay. Let's
Oh, no
hear
problem. Yeah, I love old stories.
It's an old story. I sat next to John F. Kennedy Jr. on the subway.
it. Ooh.
And this is way before cell phones, and I was coming down here because I went to graduate school in NYU right around the corner.
So great.
And I was so excited, I jumped off the train like 8 stops before where I was supposed to get off so I could use a old payphone because to call one of my friends.
Yes.
And say, you have no idea who I just sat next to. And no one knew it was him.
Oh, that's
Really?
so
That's
cool.
wild. I've never seen a payphone.
Wow.
There used to be one.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Corner.
You should take a photo if you ever see
Yeah,
it.
if we see one, please send me a pic.
Yeah, but
because
I was-
would love to.
I was
My number
pretty
is
starved.
914. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Never mind.
Shannon, don't give out your number on camera.
Mick
How many
Jagger's
times do we have to
watching.
remind you?
He's gonna try to call me again.
So, let's see a couple things. You, who's your favorite person,
In the world.
in general, in the world? And it could be, close to you or far away. Who is it?
There's too many to choose from.
Oh, come
Oh,
on.
she loves everyone.
You love
Well,
everyone, let's
I'm
say,
trying to think of
besides
someone
JFK
who is a good, a philanthropist or someone who's doing something that is trying to make a difference.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's see. Who's
okay.
making a difference in the world?
A lot of people.
Really, social media stars are really changing things.
Oh, yeah. Well, at least people can use social media to change.
All right.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's narrow it down. Who's your favorite actor?
I love this question.
Yeah. Is it too hard? It's not.
Well, I just was here to see Sam Hewen. He's one of them.
Okay,
Oh,
Sam Hewen. That's
so you love
okay.
Sam Hewen, but
Cool.
you were like, I'm just
Some of
gonna
the folks,
stick around.
a lot of the folks that Julie Taymor works with.
Great, great.
Yeah. Oh, wow,
Oh.
you're plugging all the
Yeah, you're
celebs we
plugging
have
the
today
show
on
for-
Build. You're like, they're watching, and I'm going to make sure that they know I support.
This is just so random and funny, but Jodi, I'm reminded of this, there's this Beatles song that, not everyone knows about. It's in, one of those, box sets.
Okay.
That I've heard this Beatles song before, and it reminds me so much of you. I don't know if you've heard
I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah?
Guys, can we look that up and just play it real quick? Because it'd be cool for Jodi to hear that song. Oh, yeah.
You have no idea. It's almost true.
Really? Wait, are you just telling us that the Beatles wrote a song about you? Jodi, you didn't tell us the
No,
right
no.
story. Yeah, what was it
But
like?
when I'm 64,
Jodi rode the subway from the Upper West
Right.
She sat next to JFK Jr. and she couldn't reside in herself because JFK was so nearby. She called her friends, she had to cry. She picked up the payphone. What's that? You don't have a quarter? Pull it out of your hat.
Woo! Payphones don't exist. Wow, that's pretty weird.
They're gone.
Now I'm thinking about all the things that will cease to exist.
Humans.
That's it. Yeah. Do you remember that song?
Air, the sky.
Wow. It's just
Yeah.
like it's one of those random Beatles tracks. Like Ringo wrote it. You know.
I love it though, because the Beatles, they predicted so many things, and they are predicting the apocalypse. That's 100% gonna happen.
Yeah, it's been happening.
The end of humans. Yeah, it's intense, right? It's you try to have fun, but the music really speaks the truth.
Wow. It's just wild. The
Yeah.
Beatles. So
You never know.
let's.
Do you remember that song, Jodi?
Yeah, you remember that song?
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think I have the liner notes to the album.
Oh, really?
Oh, cool.
Wow, what a
Vinyl,
fan!
you know.
I love when
Already
you get
talked
the
about
real fan.
payphones. I used to listen on vinyl too.
Yeah.
Cool. So you went to NYU.
I did.
You what did you study there?
Health policy?
Health policy. That's great. Good for you. That's it's like a real thing.
It's a real thing.
It's more than real.
It's
It's more
not-
real than
yeah.
communication.
I studied communications and theater. I feel like a fraud.
No.
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 You're
Oh wow,
communicating
thank
right
you.
now.
Yeah,
Here
that's
you
true.
are.
That's true. I have a microphone. I'm communicating into it. I'm making human connections at every turn.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite food?
Noodles.
Noodles. I
Oh
love
my God.
noodles
Noodles
also.
are so
I feel a
good.
song
really do.
coming on.
Yeah, what kind of noodles do you like? Do you like the thin
ramen
angel hair with the
noodles.
Ramen noodles.
Oh
You're
my
speaking
God.
my language.
Who
I
doesn't
love
like
ramen.
ramen? Can
There's
I
an
get
old
a hell
Beatles-
yeah for the ramen in the audience?
This is a ramen house. The
Yeah.
Build Up loves ramen.
Oh my God,
The official
yeah.
sponsor.
What's
of
your
the
favorite
Build
thing to put in ramen?
Vegetables, edamame, soy,
Oh yeah.
Up? Mushroom.
tofu, mushrooms,
Yeah. all
Gotta,
of that.
gotta get all those veggies in there.
egg, the usual stuff. I have a feeling there's a Beatles song about that.
Jodi
think
really
there's a-
wants us
yeah.
to get to the Beatles songs.
That's weird. We didn't.
Does
have
that
a
remind
Beatles-
anyone else of a Beatles
Is there
song?
a Beatles
Is it,
song about
maybe
ramen?
it does.
Do you guys
maybe.
know one? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see. If there's a Beatles song, it kind of did sound a little bit familiar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Oh, is this-
Oh wait, this is that song about
Yeah?
ramen.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
It's like I love to make noodles and water, noodles and water, noodles and water. We call it ramen 'cause it's super tasty, super tasty, super tasty. What do you put in your ramen bowl?
Noodles and water.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
That was, every
It's
once in a
such a
while,
classic.
George jumped in there, would sing a verse. He killed it.
The music video is so good because they were all those like hard-boiled eggs, and then like at the end they get split open and they're just like leaking up, So it's like the broth was so yolky. Oh God, I love ramen
Very
details.
early Beatles music videos.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Jodi.
You've been so good.
You've been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's amazing that the Beatles wrote so many songs about you.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we missed out on an old story from back in the day where she actually inspired those songs. Don't you feel like?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
She probably met them all. And
Oh yeah. She was partying in that LSD phase.
whoa, the LSD. phase.
Yeah, I'm calling her out.
Okay.
I'm just saying she remembers payphones, so she's got those vivid memories.
That's true.
Yeah.
So should we have another?
Yeah,
do we have
let's
time
give it
to
up
talk
for
to
the
another
fans
person?
for coming out. Let's talk to
Yeah,
someone
we got
else.
so many fans to talk to, and we really, have us step
Oh
up
my
here.
gosh, she didn't even
jump
use
up.
this step.
Very
It was
spry.
like my leg's super functional, and I almost accidentally held your hand. I'm so sorry. That was just
That's
a
another-
Beatles reference.
that's another Beatles
I just
song.
wanted to. Okay, sorry.
I'm not too oldie.
You're not who?
Too old.
Yeah, you're not too old. No one says you're too old. What are you
No.
talking
No
about?
one's too old, man.
I mean,
Nope.
I mean, honestly, I don't listen too much about the music. I like one song of them.
Which song? Which is your favorite song?
Hey Jude, maybe.
Oh, I love
yeah,
Hey
yeah,
Jude. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah.
song.
Yeah, isn't that
And just
song?
when I find my country, I don't know. So
Where are you from?
I'm from Venezuela. I'm so too far from here, guys.
Okay, so
cool.
Venezuela, they don't like the Beatles.
I don't know.
Oh, I'm not trying to
maybe they
spit it
love it, but I just
Let's
I grew
start-
up listening. I'm from '90s. I grew up just listening. I don't know, Bastard Boys and Sing and Britney Spears.
All right.
Oh,
All
Chicken
right.
is a
We
beer, right?
support that
Well,
too.
controversial, but you know what?
What's
The
your name?
Backstreet Boys are like the Beatles of our time, right?
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
I think I hear a song coming on. What's your name?
Yeah.
I'm Nestor.
Nestor?
Nestor.
Yes, Nestor.
Cool. Maybe
man.
that reminds me of a Beatles song though. There's a lost Beatles song. Did you hear about the one that reminds me of
Yeah.
your life?
Well, he's not a real
exactly.
fan, so he,
Yeah.
he probably didn't hear it, but
I just sang that song
Oh,
one time,
that's
so
it.
that's what it.
Nestor. 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 Nestor.
I like
He
it.
loves boy bands.
Oh, but he doesn't have time for the Beatles. That's us.
He loves boy bands,
Only boy bands.
boy bands and other things.
Yeah.
You're right, guys.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
and he can
Oh my
sing.
God, wait.
And he can sing. What?
You just sing.
Did I do?
You're like, this is the moment on X Factor where Simon Cowell was like, we've discovered a
I'm sorry,
star.
you're oh, guys,
Discovered
you're,
a star.
you're discovering the new American Idol, so.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm so
all
confident.
right.
I'm sorry. I feel like. Okay.
No, please.
that was-
Can we play that track again and give the star his
Let's give
shot
the
to
star
sing
his
it?
song. He
And
knows his own
The
song.
two whack-ass comedians with no vocals will step back.
Yeah.
No.
Here we go. It's Nestor.
I'm so sorry, guys, but I don't know what can I say. Oh yeah.
What can you say?
Oh my God. He's so cute.
And I'm right here in front of you, and I'm like dying because I'm nervous. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But I love Bill Serious in New York. All right, I don't know. I'm
Yes, he does.
Going. Oh my God, no.
He's
We got all
killing
the
it.
time in the world
He's
for
got
talent.
those vocals.
And everybody, please give me a whoa.
Woo!
One more time. I know you can do it better.
Woo!
Whoa, 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 whoa.
All
right.
Wow. Give it up for Nestor.
Oh my God.
Thank you, guys.
That was so
Wow,
great. Wow.
You
Nestor,
know,
thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
thank you.
Sometimes on the build-up, we're just like having fun and just, shooting the shit, and then you find a star. You discover a star.
That was absolutely amazing.
Yes. Yes. Simon Cowell, thank you. Oh, wow. Guys, this has been such a magical moment.
Yes.
Thanks for hanging out with us on Build Up. Don't go anywhere because Julie Taymor is about to go on stage on Build.
Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Laura Haywood. Once in a generation, if we're lucky, an artist comes along who reinvents her craft, pushing every boundary and changing the art form forever. Today's guest, Julie Taymor, is that visionary. Best known as the Tony-winning director and designer of The Lion King on Broadway, which has been running for over 20 years and has been produced all over the world. She's also a renowned director of Shakespeare, opera, and film, as well as the creator of breathtaking masks and puppets inspired by a lifetime of travel and study. Today, we're talking about the 2007 musical film Across the Universe, featuring 33 songs by The Beatles, which returns to movie theaters for a couple of days only, presented by Fathom Events. Here's a look at Across the Universe.
Words are flowing out like endless rain into a paper cup. They slither while they pass, they slip away across the universe. Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open mind, possessing and caressing me. Nothing's gonna change my world. Nothing's gonna change my world. Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on and on across the universe. Thoughts meander like a restless wind inside a letterbox. They tumble blindly as they make their way across the universe.
Welcome, Julie Taymor.
Thank you.
Seeing those scenes of that film, it's hard to believe it's been 11 years since it came out in theaters, and I'm so excited to see it on the big screen again.
Yes, I saw it last night.
Why now? Why is it coming back now?
Isn't that obvious?
Well, because it seems so current.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. No, when we did this film 10 years ago or 11 years ago, it was right during the Iraq War. And when we were the march down Fifth Avenue, people thought it was a real march. People joined us and thought, stop the war, and all the rhetoric and everything that was being spoken about in the protests there. And all the young actors, they felt like it was real while they were doing it. And this was pre-Obama. So this film came out trying to show how the young people in the 60s who had the war to deal with, the draft to deal with, the civil rights movements, all of those movements of the 60s, how they actually got off their bums, went out into the streets, and made a difference. And it feels like we're at that point again. The Parkland kids and the whole, everything that's going on with the election, the need to have people out there actively taking their world back, their democracy. It's a really powerful expression, a youthful expression. And when I watched the movie last night and saw the scene with Lucy when she and Jude in the laundromat, how many people have seen this film here? Okay.
Everyone.
So if you remember, he kind of is apathetic to the war. He's not American. He's here. He's an artist, and she's saying, "I'd lie down in front of a tank if it would bring Max home from Vietnam," and he says, "Well, it wouldn't." And then she says, "But you have to try," and I think that feeling that we got when Obama ran before, but even this idea that we have to do it. You just have to get out there, or you'll lose it.
Yeah.
That's why the film. Yeah, it's a good film anyway. It's fun.
And it's the 50th anniversary of 1968.
Summer of Love, Summer of Death. I mean, there were assassinations and all kinds of things during that year.
And a
68.
kind of tribalism, I think, amongst the American people that I think is reflected again now. I saw so many parallels between, when the film came out, when the film is set, what's going on now, and there is something about seeing it on that big screen and to hear this music in a professional surround sound system in a room full of people who have all made an appointment to watch it together. It reminds me of theater. We are all there sharing that experience.
Yeah. People, I feel for people who've lost that, who didn't grow up where you went to the movie en masse and you felt the energy of a room. And this is a movie musical, so you kind of want to feel that. And it is sad that a lot of theaters actually have gotten more like home theaters. They're very small.
Yeah.
I was astounded. I thought, oh. But there's still something about the large screen, and if you have good sound in your theater, then having that surround sound and the joy of the feel of other people enjoying it with you, and also the concentration. Because I watch television, you get up, you go to the bathroom, you talk out loud, and it's something to have that full, just the experience. This is a big movie. It really crosses
The universe?
Yeah. Well,
Sorry,
at least the lives of these teenagers, it does take you. You watch these young people change in this compressed 2 or 3 years of time, and what the outside world, how that influences their inside worlds. Yeah.
I'm really fascinated by the fact that when you were approached to work on this film, you pulled from your personal history that Lucy and Max are loosely based on your own brother and sister. You were a child and you watched them react to the war. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had spent 4 years in Asia when I was very young. I traveled a lot, and most of the theater work and things that I had done, Shakespeare or whatever, were very far from my own suburbia, far from where I grew up in Newton, Massachusetts, which is like the Brookline of Lucy. She's from Brookline, Mass. And I was probably, if you know the scene where she says, "It won't be long, yeah, yeah," and there's a little girl with blonde braids, that's me, although I never was blonde. And I watched my older brother and sister at the end of the 50s, beginning of the 60s. I watched them transform. My sister became the head of SDS, which in the movie is the SDR, the Students for Democratic Republic in the film, Students for Democratic Society. She became very politically active. Her husband at the time was a radical and had built Molotov cocktails, and it was a really scary time. My brother, older than my sister, he was a dropout. You know, he went to Johns Hopkins and he dropped out of college a couple of times. He was very smart, but you know, the acid, the times, he became a musician and then a cab driver, and that's Max. And he also was they were at the beginning of the drug thing as well. And my parents, who were wonderful, they didn't know what hit him. And so they were at the beginning, and with all their friends, they were, what did we do wrong? But it wasn't what they did wrong, it was the times. And there was this extraordinary, and I became the go-between and was quiet. I was the silent observer. So you know, watching my parents go through hell and watching their friends and the Vietnam War, and my brother enlisted very young. The line Max says, I'll just join the army and fight, what did he say, box and learn and play chess.
Yeah.
I got that from my brother. I said, why did you enlist? He said, oh, I thought it would be. So there were some lines when we were working on the script that really were very personal to my family. And I lived in New York during a lot of that time, even though I was very young. I think, I was in the Bread and Puppet Theater. So you know Mr. Kite and all of those big puppet stuff?
Oh my gosh, those
Well,
blue
I went up
guys.
to Vermont, and I was in one of those Vietnamese ladies, you know. So I built puppets. Peter Schumann, the head of that, was a mentor to me, and I asked him if I could. A lot of the puppets are my design, the Blue Meanies or whatever, but the Bread and Puppet stuff is very close and really for me, it was an honor to be able to recreate his puppets of that era. The giant Vietnamese ladies and LBJs and all that would march down, do the marches here and in Washington and everywhere else. So I was I'm young, you know, I was probably 12 during all of this, around 12, but I then lived it through my older brother and sister and the other teenagers and college students and of the time.
I'm so glad that you brought up the puppets, because I remember seeing this film and not exactly knowing what to expect. I mean, I saw Jim Sturgess and I thought, oh, well, he's the young Paul McCartney. He looks, you know, and I thought maybe this was going to be a movie about the Beatles, and I wasn't exactly sure. And then it starts as kind of true to life. And then all of a sudden, this psychedelic stuff starts happening. And where it first hit me was that army scene, the army recruitment hallucination, and those soldiers with the boxed faces that I recognize as Julie Taymor.
Yeah, I did those
faces, you know. And I thought, this is something totally different.
Well, last night, about 30 of us went to Kips Bay and saw it, including Jim Sturgess, who flew over from London with his girlfriend, and Dana Fuchs, who plays Sadie, she was there, and a couple of the other actors. And then Mark Freeberg, the set designer, who did those boxes and, you know, the boxes in I Want You, and did just an extraordinary production.
Yeah, which was like all steampunky and...
Yeah,
like,
you know, it was... Gloria Steinem came with us, too, last night.
Oh, my gosh.
And she had never seen it. And I was aghast. What's the problem? Why didn't you see it? Well, you know, some movies were promoted, and this was not one of them.
Yeah.
And she was amazed at what I take for granted a little bit, which is, she said, I've never seen anything that goes so much from very real to very, well, she meant to say surreal, but, you know, sort of dreamlike, and that it just seamlessly moves back and forth. I think that this movie was unusual in that way. Most movie musicals come from the stage, had come, a lot of them, except in the very old days,
right?
You know, where they were created for movies. But this one was totally made for a movie. There's over 200 scenes and 5,000 extras, and you know, that's why it's always been hard for me to just say, oh, let's go do it on Broadway. It's not that
I'm
easy.
so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Because I know that actually when you were talking about doing Lion King, first of all, you have to forgive Gloria Steinem for never seeing Across the Universe, because I have it on good authority that you had never seen Lion King before you were asked to work on Lion King.
That's true.
But I also understand that one of the things that attracted you to working on Lion King was the enormity of the scope of it.
Yes.
And how do you take a herd of 5,000 wildebeests and turn that into something that you can fit within a proscenium stage. And you brought in some of the most low-tech theatrical conceits in order to make this massive scale happen. So I certainly think that Julie Taymor would not let that stop her from bringing Across the Universe to the stage. And I know you've talked about it before.
I have, but we're not on the path yet, so I'm not even supposed to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it does get done, I hope we get to do it in an incredibly abnormal way, meaning not necessarily a proscenium show. Because I think there's something that people are loving now, which is a little bit more surround, a little bit more just take over the space. Feel like you're in the middle of it. A movie is flat, it's up there and it's in front of you, whether it's on TV or in a theater. I like the idea if we do something, it's spatially completely different. So there's things happening, sort of, that I'm not allowed to talk about.
All right, well, I'll accept that for now, but just know there's an audience for it. We want it. We've wanted it since the moment it hit the screen.
Well, you know, where do you get 33 brilliant songs? Even if you don't like all of them, they each have so much character, and they lend themselves to story. People say, oh, it's a jukebox musical, and I think about that. It is not a jukebox musical. Yes, the songs were written before the movie. That is true. So if that's your definition, that's one thing. But for me, a jukebox musical means you can put on the song, and it doesn't matter what the scene is. This story was created by the songs. We had an idea, Ian Lafreniere and Dick Clements, of this love triangle or this love story, and set in this time. But when I became involved in the process, there was really no script, no story, and I listened to the 200 Beatles songs and picked the 33 of what I said, okay, if he was going to enlist, what would the song be? Well, kind of obvious.
You take a look at those posters,
right?
Uncle Sam.
And, you know, people, I've had to read all the criticism of the movie over the years, which, you know, shouldn't really do that. But I do just sort of go, well, why do people have a problem with certain things, like the names of the characters are Jude, Lucy, Max, Sadie, and JoJo.
And Prudence.
And Prudence. Now, not all of their songs are in it, but Hey Jude, which is one of the greatest anthems in there, how could you sing that song if the character wasn't in the movie? It would have no meaning. It's like you all know West Side Story. All right, so Maria, I just met a girl named Ethel. Or maybe that wouldn't be, but you know what I mean. You've got to imagine that if you didn't know, then these songs were created for those characters. The lyrics come from the emotions and the inner ideas and perceptions and dreams of those characters. That's why many people say to me, I never listened to the lyrics till I saw Across the Universe. Now, they're not necessarily the lyrics as John, Paul, George, and Ringo would have had them. That's true. They had different meanings for Strawberry Fields, right? Strawberry Fields was an orphanage, or I don't even know, because better I don't know. Better I just respond to the lyrics themselves and what
You're not saying you changed the lyrics.
No,
just
no.
that the backstory.
No, we had
you
to
created them.
Had to say, well, I'm doing all this research on the Vietnam War and the bombing, and there are these incredible documentary films that you can see, and all of a sudden I'm looking at strawberry bombs dropping. Strawberry bombs. And it just, as an artist, that's what you do. It just kind of went in my head, and I kept thinking of these strawberries, and then the strawberries, and then the Apple logo. And, you know, one thing leads to another, and Jude is an artist, and he's trying to do this still life while this nasty, competitive guy, Paco, is getting his girlfriend. And you start to put these thoughts together, and then Strawberry Fields, the lyrics start to take on the meaning of what is happening at the time. And something like, I want you, you know it's the Uncle Sam logo, I want you. So that was easy, but that song, which the original goes on for 15 minutes, our original, but the Beatles' original goes on for 15 minutes or 20 minutes. I want you so bad it's driving me mad, she's so heavy. That's it. There are no other lyrics. So I'm thinking, she's so heavy. What the hell is she so heavy? What are they talking about? And I was on, I was on beach in Tulum, and I'm walking on the sand, and all of a sudden I'm trudging in the sand, and I'm thinking about the Hebrews carrying the pyramids from Haggadah, which I did at the Public Theater. You know, this image of these young GIs, these soldiers carrying the Statue of Liberty through the jungles of, and there are palm trees in Tulum, and through the jungles of Vietnam, and the idea that we say we were going to Vietnam for liberty, for freedom, America. Not anymore, guys, not anymore. No one's out there doing anything that represents the good part of American spirit. But there was this ironic thing, which is we're bringing liberty to another country while we're trampling their trees with Agent Orange and bombs and everything. So I could use the words, she's so heavy, while they're carrying in their underwear and their combat boots this giant statue that represents something very positive for this country. And that is the joy of my job, to be able to hallucinate and freewheel the ideas and images and see how people go, are you fucking out of your mind?
I think maybe you are a little bit, and that's what makes you so brilliant. There's something that I've always wanted to say to you, and I'm going to just do it in front of everyone watching, which is that I think that you have not been given enough credit for all of the risks that you've taken. I think that everyone said, "Oh, Lion King is so groundbreaking, and your operatic work is so what you've done just with the idea of a red ribbon and how that can represent a bloodstream, or with Titus, this idea of the mud man,
Yeah.
and you get credit for the risks that pay off. But what people I think have failed to give you credit for is the fact that you are constantly pushing the boundaries of what one can do with an art form, whether it's puppetry, whether it's stage work, whether it's film. And sometimes those things don't work, but that's how you know when your geniuses are really doing their job. that risks sometimes fail. And whenever the issue of Spider-Man comes up, I always say, that's what we want from our geniuses, for them to aim so big that maybe it turns into a spectacular, Lion King style global phenomenon. And then the ones that don't, then they tried. And I'm feeling far less articulate in expressing this, but I want more spectacular failures from all of our artists, because that's how we know that they're pushing the boundaries that will bring us the spectacular successes. And you are my hero for having done that so consistently throughout your career.
Thank you, Laura.
So Across the Universe is playing for just a couple days more in theaters through Fathom Events. We're going to cross our fingers and not ask you any more specific questions about its future as a stage production, because we know you've said all you can. But I want to know what else you're working on. You mentioned that Gloria Steinem came with you to see the show in the theater last night. You have a project you're working with her on. What's that about?
She wrote a book called My Life on the Road. Have any of you read this? Because if you haven't, go get it. I just read it as a book. A friend gave it to me, and I knew her from before. We all, we know who she is. But I loved this book, and I went, oh my God, a female road movie, because it's really about her life on the road. And as she says, people think it's safe for women to be at home. That's in the history of all, it's much safer for women. What is it Dorothy says in The Wizard of Oz?
There's no
place like home. There's no place like home. Every journey of a woman is always about trying to get safe and be home. But as Gloria Steinem will let you know, that is the most unsafe place for women in the history of the world. The more violence happens at home than anywhere. And so this premise that she had was from age 6, we take it from 6 to 85 years old. And it's called The Glorias. And Julianne Moore is one of them, one of the main ones. Gloria Steinem is in it. We shot Gloria on the night of the election with 40 female ambassadors and Samantha Powers and Madeleine Albright, and we were in that apartment at the Waldorf shooting it, because I said, I'm going to combine documentary footage in this story, in this movie, this narrative, normal movie, not a documentary, but I will include some. And what a depressing night that was. And the whole, now I have to restage it and literally make the room sag, I have to actually shoot it and go, oh my God, watch the room sag, as these women from all over the world in their beautiful dresses and their headdresses said, oh, I've got to get back my babysitter, oh, I've got to get back my husband, you know what I mean? And knowing that how hard it was for them to get to the United Nations, and now all their Planned Parenthood things, all their things in their countries would be losing their funding, the women would be going through hell. So, and then we shot the Women's March. Gloria was great at that. But it is a thrilling project to be working on, and I haven't done a biopic since Frida, because I'm not really into being limited by that, but I'm not, I'm not limited. And I came up with a concept where the Glorias of different ages actually talk to each other and ride this surreal bus. And so it will move, as you'd expect, in an unexpected way.
Is it like Dr. Roberts' bus in Across the Universe?
No, but I was watching some of the bus stuff and going, oh, I'm doing it again. No, there will be very whacked out sequences in this film, but she's been phenomenal, and I'm excited. And Bette Midler's going to play Bella Abzug, and that should be wonderful. Yeah, isn't that perfect? Can you imagine? I just saw her do Hello Dolly 2 nights ago. She's astounding.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't get. That sounds like a pretty remarkable cast. I want to see what 6-year-old you find who can.
I don't know who
stand
that's
up
be,
to that talent.
And a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And then I have about 6 or 7 other projects, because no matter what you think, it's impossible to get them done. I've got some that are 20 years old, 15 years old, 8 years old. Sounds like all my children, right? But I have a wonderful television project that's being written on Erica Jong's book, Fanny Hackabout-Jones. And it's fantastic, which she wrote years ago, and I loved it. It's a kind of Tom Jones from a female point of view, body, 18th century wild tale. But it needed to be, the TV series form is the right form for it. So that's in it. We're writing the second. We have a great writer from England writing that. And I've got a musical, The Grand Delusion, that Elliot, the composer who I live with and who did the music and most of the arrangements to Across the Universe, but he also did the score. Yeah. And we plan on beginning in London within the next 2 years with that. So I continue to move from theater to opera to film to television now.
And you have a couple of books.
Books?
Well, they're books that are
of my work,
that are credited to you.
Yeah.
You know, that you like the is it Titus that has a book, or is
Titus? No, a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Titus. And I have a book called Playing with Fire, which has had 3 editions, and you see all my work for 40 years in that one. It's a big book.
Well, when you get a moment, I want you to write a memoir. Okay? So just add it to your list.
Yeah, okay.
Let's take a couple of questions from our audience.
Well, I'm not going to stand up. It's not going to make much of a difference here. My name's Carol. I am also a costumer. I do opera and musical theater. So if you're ever in Princeton, please come visit us. You mentioned several of your projects, and I adore Across the Universe. And you've already mentioned about like doing your film, and there's a possibility of stage, and now and with books. What about doing an Across the Universe book? There's so much detail to it.
I know, but if you find a publisher, we'll do it. I'm serious. It's not, people, it's like there's not even a book of The Magic Flute, which is at the Met every single year, 2 productions, and I haven't seen a book come out. So I would love to have had a book of Across the Universe. Our photographs are stunning. And I think it would be great to have the lyrics, but that becomes an issue. You know, the lyrics, getting permission from whatever, Sony, Beatles, Apple. So I'm fine. You bring the publisher, it's done.
I've been bringing people to, I've been like, you have to see this, you have to see, when it first came out and over the years, okay, it's been watching in the living room. But it's a brilliant piece, and thank you for that.
Oh, thank you, thanks. It's only 2 more shows, It's only the 31st,
the 31st and the 1st.
Yeah, I think in Manhattan, 3 theaters, and I don't know where else it's playing.
Fathom Events website, fathomevents.com, has all the show times, the cities, ticket details. That's where you want to find it.
Yeah.
Who has a question?
Hi. I'm just wondering what the greatest challenge of directing Across the Universe was.
Well, first of all, let me think about this. It is a huge world, It's like it was just large all over New York, and we had to almost everything was in New York except for Liverpool. We did finally. They wanted us to shoot it in New York, and it just is not. Not just because of the buildings, but look at the faces. The faces of the people in Liverpool do not look like Americans at all. We're very hard. But Vietnam was pretty tough, too. So we went to New Jersey and put palm trees in some toxic river or something. We just like, don't stay in the river too long, right? Get out of there. You know, it was a challenge, but it wasn't a heart-rending challenge. What I'll tell you the biggest challenge, and this is the truth, which is at the end of it, people loved it, but there was a bit of a fear that it was too artistic or too political, and so there was an attempt at a certain point to get rid of the black people in it, the homosexuality in it, all the protesting. And my entire company and team, and we had the support of the Beatles, meaning Olivia Harrison, Paul McCartney, Ringo, and they had all seen it and really, really supported it. So we stuck by our guns. And when you do that, you win and you lose. And that's just the way it goes in the business. You win, maybe the cut is my cut. And I did make, I think the edits that I did pushed to edit, I think they made the film better. So that's not it. I don't go like, oh, I won't make it any short. None of that stuff. But I was very respectful of the songs. So sometimes if you cut the songs too much, my partner's a composer. I'm very respectful of the composer and lyricist. So that was difficult, but willing. What I wasn't willing to do was to give up the Vietnamese ladies falling in the water or Mr. Kite. What is that about? What is that? How does that mean anything? It means a lot. Those kids are going to go there and go into that head state, what's the expression in the 60s? Drop out, tune in, drop out, They have to go to that state right before the war because the next part of the story is you're in the war. The helicopters, but you watch Max, he's in underwater and then he comes up, it's like Apocalypse Now, he comes up out of that water and he's there. So the hardest thing is sticking to what this was in the script, this is what we proposed to do. The song Revolution is there, the song, those songs are there, but sometimes in the end, in Hollywood, they say this is geared towards 15-year-old girls. So let's get rid of Lucy saying, I'm never having children. If Lucy says, I'm never having children, it's like putting out carbon copies of myself. It's so narcissistic. As 15 or 16, studios might say, that makes her unlikable. You know what I'm talking about. No, that makes her Gloria Steinem in the future. Right. That makes her Jane Fonda. That makes her a radical. That makes her a journalist. That makes her someone who does what she does in the second part of the film. So to me, the hardest part was not with my team and my collaborators, was when people smell the money, then they start to water things down and go, and we stuck to our guns, and I think the studio backed us ultimately, but it didn't get a huge release. It didn't. So again, in Hollywood, if something doesn't make all its money back, it's considered a failure, or not quite. This made quite a good amount of money, but it should have been out there more. And even now, it's very hard to spend the money. You have to get everybody to know that it's in Fathom theaters for 3 days. It's not, that's why I'm here. That's why we do these things, because we're passionate. I really, really feel that it's time for this movie to get a wider release, and I think La La Land, this movie was before its time. It just was. That people hadn't seen a musical like this and weren't ready for a musical like this, so there's a confusion a bit. Oh, those are my Beatles songs. How can you put that into a literal context? Because they're geniuses, those people. Those songs work. Let It Be is a gospel. When Paul McCartney sings it, you hear a gospel, but he's not singing it like this incredible Carol, I just forgot her last name, but she's an astounding gospel singer in a church in Detroit at the time when a black kid gets killed by the police. I mean, it's so resonant right now, and that's why the movie had to come out.
Well said. We have time for one last question from the audience.
Hello, I'm glad to meet you. I'm
so
excited to be in front of you. I just posted something on my Instagram, and laneta.com from Mexico City just asking. I like that the film shows a vision of love that is struggle to change the world, and they want to know if you really believe that the love can end the violence and acts of terrorism across the universe.
Wow. Do I believe that love can do that? Love isn't something by itself. Love is generated by people. So if people can transform the person who's in front of them and open their heart, then that person can get transformed. That's definitely true. But if you keep putting up these walls and these barriers where you can't actually communicate to the person who's your, quote, enemy or, you know, the other, then love by itself gets nowhere. You really have to keep opening. And you'd think with this world of you Instagramming Mexico and me talking on this and all this, that it would be so much better than it is. So it's really kind of sad. But I definitely think that the communication across boundaries is the most, across the universe is the most important thing that we can do as young people and as older people and just humans.
As Lucy says, we have to try.
Yes, we have
and if
to
there were
try.
more people willing to lay down in front of a tank to end the war, then maybe it would end. We may all be just drops in the ocean, but
well, you hope that with this instant, oh my God, look at what's happening to the people coming across the border, and then next week you don't read about it. You know, you hope that things just don't go in and out. You know, throw away, that the media picks on it and then doesn't, and then you're not interested anymore. That's the hard thing, and I think that the kids who spoke about the guns and the Parkland survivors, I know one of them, a woman, what's her name with the shaved head?
Emma Gonzalez.
Emma loves Across the Universe. So I was hoping, go on, Emma, tell everybody to go see it. But I think they've got other things to do. They've got other things on their plate. But I just hope that there is that stay with it, you know, especially with these elections coming up in November. It is so critical that we change the House. It's very simple. And there's not a whole lot of other things that can be done. We still should protest. Definitely. Don't say that won't do anything. But it's really getting out there and communicating to people that this is your world. You take it back. You can't just complain. I watch Stephen Colbert. I love Stephen Colbert, but I cry every time I laugh at what he's doing. It's very hard because nothing's funny. It's not funny at all. So I need to laugh before I go to sleep. I do, or I'd have bad dreams. But I have them anyway. But I feel like, you know, this is so important now, and I think that young people have that power, and they don't even know that they have the power to actually make it stop, make it change. And they know the truth, too. They really do. There's a whole lot of people who don't know the truth, but the truth is the truth. There is no alternative truth.
This is the perfect moment to bring back Across the Universe.
Oh, thank you.
I'm so glad that people have an opportunity to see it in theaters with a community of people around them. Hopefully, if we can sell out these last couple of screenings, then maybe the film will get a wider release in theaters. That's where it belongs. And I think, while I completely agree with you about young people and their ability to change the world, it's not just young people. And you, as an artist, are the perfect example of someone who has taken your superpower, which is art, and used it to make the world a better place.
Oh, thank you very much.
In fact, you might even say you've spread that art, that joy, that love, and that betterment across the universe.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.